Oh, dear me. I'm about to piss off a lot of people. We just watched Matrix 4, aka Matrix Resurrections. It came out in theaters and HBO Max on December 22nd. I was really excited about it, and for some reason, I thought I watched the first Matrix. I've seen a lot of clips on it. I've watched like 65% of it, only to find out I actually didn't watch the first one. My partner felt very betrayed, and we sat down and basically watched the first movie, and then did a recap of the second movie, which I found out I actually didn't watch straight through either, and then the third movie. And I knew everything, and I love the trilogy, the way it ended. Oh my god, I was in goosebumps, chills. It was a beautiful story. So I was even more excited for the Matrix Resurrections. We had a lot of videos of people explaining different theories. There's this channel dedicated just to the Matrix stuff, and I was just taking all of that in. When it dropped, we watched it on HBO Max. So I'm going to give a short recap, but I'm going to let you guys know there's going to be spoilers from here on out. It's not going to be an in-depth summary, but it's just going to be the highlights of what happened. All right, so here we go. So we have Neo, aka Thomas Anderson, the main character of all the other Matrix movies, who is now working as a programmer, a game designer. Turns out that the entire trilogy of the Matrix was just a video game, or at least that's what certain people want him to believe. See, Neo actually doesn't look like Neo. He just looks like Neo to us, and maybe that's the way he sees himself, but to the world, he looks like a very old man who looks completely different from what Neo looks like. The movie starts off in exactly the same way the first Matrix starts off, where these cops encounter Trinity, the secondary main character of the Matrix trilogy, who is also Neo's love interest. Bugs, one of the newer characters, is looking into this, and turns out that they are in something called the modal, which is in fact the Matrix game. Basically, Neo programmed his own Matrix based on the real Matrix that he thought was real, that now he knows in his mind was fake all along, and he actually was crazy. In his reality right now, he's a successful video game developer of the Matrix trilogy, and he goes to a coffee shop where he does see Trinity almost every day, but she's no longer Trinity, she's Tiffany, and she looks like a blonde, middle-aged woman. She's also married with kids. While all of this is happening, and Neo is swallowing down a whole bunch of blue pills and basically thinks that that entire thing was just some fever dream, the main character, Bugs, teams up with Morpheus, but not the Morpheus that we know from the old movies. This Morpheus is a program that Neo made in his game that is now self-aware. You see, when Bugs went into Neo's game to check out his code, the AI within the game started interacting with her as a person who was not part of the game, which was freaking creepy. And then Morpheus from that game, who was also a combination of an Agent Smith character, became self-aware or what have you, and joined her, knew his purpose and all of that jazz. Well, long and short of it, Bugs and Morpheus and all the other people outside, who still believe in Neo, found him this way. They all thought that he had died at the end of the Machine War, which is what we thought at the end of Matrix 3. So after finding out that Neo subconsciously ran the modal, or his game, so that Morpheus could be free, since his involvement with Neo is a big part of why Neo is the way he is, or who Neo thought he was, with the help of actual machines in the real world, Bugs, Morpheus, and all the others rescue Neo from his pod via finding him in the Matrix and telling him to take the red pill. There's a lot more details to it, but like I said, I'm just giving you the highlights. Turns out that people in Neo's life that he thought was real, like his analyst, are actually programs that were made to keep him under wraps, to keep him thinking that the Matrix is an illusion. There's a lot of synonymous implications of social media and society and all of that, and people being fed a lie and depending more on their feelings so that people can keep them controlled and pacified, which is basically what they were doing with Neo. Neo is in this pod that is facing another pod at the top of a tower, and he thinks that inside of that pod is Trinity. So after he is taken by these people or rescued, he is transported via their ship, the Nemesis, almost dying because he basically quit being in the Matrix cold turkey, and they've been feeding him for, 60 years? I'm assuming. I don't really know the exact time, because when they carry him back to their city, it's no longer Zion, it's Io. And the leader or general is none other than Niobe, played by Jada Pinkett Smith, and a lot of old granny makeup. With 60 years having passed, she looks the way she does, but because Trinity and Neo were kept at optimum health, they look a lot younger and probably only aged 20 years. The interesting part is that the reason why Io, this grand city that's hidden from the rest of the evil machines, has been as successful as it has been, where they can grow actual food that was from the Matrix that's based on real world stuff, is because machines are actually helping them. Neo thinks that nothing is different because, again, people are in pods and machines are harvesting them. However, what he did in the trilogy, the actual trilogy that actually happened, changed the world for the better, because now a lot of the machines have turned against their own kind, agreeing with the humans and working with them in secret. These machines differentiate themselves by calling themselves synthients. I believe that's the word. If I'm wrong, please forgive me, but I believe it was a combination between sentience and synthetic. So after he realized that these machines, these synthients, good machines, risk their lives to save him and to also protect Io and are working with the humans, he thanks them. And there's this weird thing that is happening where the majority of machines want to keep the people in the Matrix controlled and pacified. They don't want people like Neo walking around. And ironically, majority of the people in the Matrix want to stay pacified. People like Cypher from the trilogy, knowing that the real world is worse than what they want to face, they want to be controlled, they want to be ignorant, because ignorance is bliss. However, Neo is not complete. See, he cannot be here walking around for free while Trinity is still stuck in the Matrix. He wants to save her. And understandably, Niobe is like, you would risk all of Io to go save Trinity? Nah, son. Go in the tower until we can figure things out to see what you're gonna do. But Bugs and all the other people that kind of look at Neo as an idol break him out of the tower, and the machines also help them to go find Trinity. By the way, they got the help of a much older Sati, whose parents were purged in the previous Matrix version because her father, Sati's father, was responsible for making the pods, the updated pods that Neo and Trinity were in to keep them pacified. The reason why they kept them close, but also kept them apart from each other in the Matrix, is because the analyst found that there is perfect balance if they're kept near each other but don't make contact. Because apparently Neo is not technically the one, meaning the one and only. Apparently now anybody can be the one. They want Neo to come back in the Matrix and threaten Trinity if he doesn't return to his pod. The whole group sets off to go and save Trinity. The machines do this weird thing where they hack into Trinity's pod. And while Neo is in there and Trinity at first doesn't really want to leave the Matrix, she wakes up realizing, no, I am Trinity, I'm not Tiffany. And she and Neo are kept apart from each other, but when they reach out their hands and touch each other, even though swarm mode is being activated and all of these agents, these upgraded agents are keeping them apart, they touch each other and this power surge happens. And near the end of the movie, while Neo and Trinity are attempting to escape, jumping off the high building, Neo can't fly. Everyone was asking. And they know he could fly before, but he tried, he can't. But now Trinity can. And it turns out that Trinity is now the one. Like, they're together, but she's the only one that has the power to fly. And then at the end of the movie, she has this badass scene where she flies into the analyst who was trying to keep them pacified and like really mortally wounds him a bunch of times just to show him, while Neo is in the background cheering her on like, yeah, he deserved that. And they say they're gonna remake the world and seize control, and they all fly away. That is the very, very in a nutshell version of Matrix 4. Now, I'm gonna give my opinion and it might piss off a lot of people. I think it sucked. If I'm being really, really honest, I know you guys are gonna, don't worry, I have my extension on where I can see dislikes, and I welcome them, because I understand where you guys are coming from. I'm gonna shit on a franchise that a lot of people love. Now, I love the trilogy. Love the trilogy. I am a late entry into the trilogy. My partner is a super fan of Matrix, and I came in late, like within the last year, and specifically yesterday when I actually sat down and watched the movies. But this, even though it was written by one of the sisters that originally did the trilogy, maybe both of them should have worked on it, because clearly, ironically, like, you need Neo and Trinity together to make things happen. You probably need the both of them to do this, but it started off so good. Like, how they marketed it and how it started with Neo not knowing whether or not it was real. I was starting to question myself whether or not the trilogy was real. Like, you trying to tell me that all of this happened in his head? Like, that would throw me for six. And then they go on with it like we're supposed to be seeing Neo fight this. But no, it's this time lapse of the super meta stuff that they're talking about with the Matrix. Like, they're doing it for fan service, making it extra meta just to make it meta, but it really doesn't really matter in the long scheme of things where the rest of the movie goes. So the pacing was really weird, because Neo goes from all of this, wondering whether or not he's crazy, and then they just save him. And yes, now he's in the real world. And I thought that they were going to play that up a little bit more, where you don't even actually see the actual person playing Neo. I don't even know if it's a real person, that other person that we saw in the mirror, that what other people see him as. That's just left to the side. And that's not even the biggest deal. A lot of it felt very chaotic. They kept on dropping different things and then leaving them. Like, there were 3 different things in this movie that I thought were probably drafts or ideas of what the movie's plot was going to be, and they just threw all of them into the movie, but never really expounded on any of them. I'll give you an example, or I'll just list out all of them. The first one, Neo being crazy. They didn't play upon that. I was expecting to see a lot of that play out with him wondering and seeing glitches and starting to notice that as time went by and really wondering what was happening, trying to get to the bottom of it. But they kind of skim past that whole thing, and most of him wondering what's happening is in his head and he's in front of his analyst. I don't think that was excellently done. I felt like that should have been like 75% of the movie, but it wasn't. The next thing is social media and technology. We see the Merovingian later on, who's just sitting there doing this weird diatribe of, oh, technology, and what did you do to my world? But yet we never see any of that implemented in the actual movie. I thought that we were going to see a result of how people are kept in the Matrix and how they were going to use modern technology to do that. Now, I get that it's kind of tricky. They probably don't want to date themselves, but they already did it with the first trilogy, with the big Nokia airplane-sized phones, but I feel like they still should have done that here at least. You don't have to make them look like the phones how they look now, but at least give people devices. I was expecting that Neo was going to see weird shit happening, and every time he's thinking about it, or he's wondering whether or not the Matrix was actually real, that he goes in on his device and there's another pop-up or something that implements nowadays technology and social media with pacifying the populace, including Neo, since that's something the Merovingian mentioned in the movie, and that they also mentioned in the movie as a means for people to stay under, to stay with their heads down, and not looking up, looking and wondering and observing things they're not supposed to be observing. The next thing was the machines. They had a great opportunity there. I thought that was going to be the second act of the movie, where the machines that are their friends, now we don't just have these people who are trying to be free of their minds, but we have these machines who are now trying to be free of other machines. When I looked at the animated series, I didn't finish watching all of it, but I did watch how it started and how machines got self-awareness and wanted to be treated with respect because humans treated them like shit. And now it came back full circle to humans being treated like shit. And instead of humans being on the side and trying to understand where machines were coming from, now it's the machines that are in the humans' footsteps trying to understand where humans are coming from and fight for them. That would have come back full circle to how the Matrix began. And they just left that there. Like, they're like, oh yeah, that's the first time we saw the machines fighting each other. Yeah, that's why these machines are our friends. Okay, moving on, let's go save Trinity. And I'm like, is this entire movie just some love story about Neo saving Trinity? Like, it used to be more than that. Maybe I got something different from it, but when I watched the trilogy, I saw it as us waking up and becoming our full potential. Yes, it had some messianic, like, symbolism, which was fine, because sometimes it takes a hero, especially in fantasy movies, to awaken you, to say, hey guys, this is what it is. Anybody can be that hero, yes. But in our history, people like Martin Luther King and all of these other idols and moguls, they're like, not moguls, but idol people, they had risked and sacrificed a lot to awaken people. Anybody could have stepped up, but they didn't. That specific person changed history. And Neo was that person. And I feel like they dumbed him down. And the Neo I know sacrificed himself to save everyone. And now that Trinity is in danger, even though Jada or Niobe said, you know, this whole city, you're putting them at risk. The Neo that I know wouldn't just be like, oh, well, sucks to be you guys. I'm gonna go get Trinity and put y'all in danger. That's not the Neo that I know. Yes, there were situations where, like in the, was it the third one, when he was in the construct with the Kentucky Fried Chicken Colonel guy, and he was like, yeah, are you gonna go and save Trinity, or are you gonna go back and save the people? And Neo was able to do both, because he believed he could do both. But in this, he just spits in the face of everyone to save Trinity. Like, everything revolved around Trinity. And then when he saves her, she just magically gets his powers. Now she's the one, and she can fly. And I'm like, what? Like, What is happening? I feel like they started the first half of the movie and it was excellent, and then someone had their sandwich spiked with some serious LSD, and before sleeping it off, they just sat down and wrote the rest of the movie. I was like, well, I mean, I wasn't expecting much from this fourth movie, but Jesus Christ, this feels like a really badly written TV show based on The Matrix, using the original characters. I was left thinking, and then that cringy ending with her and like, oh my god, like I don't even understand. Like I know that some people, I didn't even watch anybody else's review. I did talk to my partner about it, and he was like, it was okay. I'm like, are you kidding? It sucked. Like, I think he was just saying that because he likes The Matrix and he likes Keanu Reeves. But I think in his mind, as he sits down and processes it, because I pointed out the things where I was like, dude, look what they did to Neo. Look what they messed up on so many levels with this movie. And after a while, he was like, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. They should have done this. You know, was it a good movie as a standalone? Not really. It was very disjointed and chaotic. Half the time I was bored to tears because the whiplash, and then Agent Smith has always been Neo's nemesis, and this other guy kept him. Like, it just felt like Agent Smith was put there as a means to an end to save Neo. Then he walks off with his cool glasses after he's like, oh well, I guess our alliance is at an end. Like, that is not Agent Smith. Agent Smith was consumed with his nemesis and an enemy status against Neo, and all of a sudden he just drops that. Like, it's just weird. Like, and then half the time people are shooting. Oh, the other thing I want to talk about. Oh my god, the choreography. I know they use a lot of strings and bungee cords in the previous movies. It felt like people who knew Kung Fu, though, choreographed those three movies, especially the first one. The choreography in this one felt awful. It felt horrible. You see the way Neo is fighting in the trilogy, or everyone's fighting the trilogy. Yeah, there are jump cuts and all that stuff, but for the most part, it looks like the hits are landing. Here, it looks like people are not trying to hurt each other. The choreography just feels off, and they go on for such a long time without us ever seeing Neo use his power. And then when he uses his power, it's like, I'm just gonna do this one thing, and, you know, while Trinity is saving me on her motorcycle, I'm just going to put up my force field for all the bullets. But then we find out, here's where it also gets cheapened, right? And I know I'm all over the place. Neo isn't the one. Like, Niobe basically says, I never believed in the one. Neo's like, I didn't believe it either. And apparently you find out that anybody can be the one. So if anybody can be the one, who we know Trinity is now because she has his powers, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'm gonna get some people in the comments like, you don't understand. Okay, maybe you're right. I don't understand. I'm just going off of what I'm seeing at face value. She has his powers. Nobody else can fly and do that shit except for the one. Or somebody that has those powers. But he can't fly. Like, she was carrying him. Maybe he could at the end. But she was carrying him. So if anybody can be the one, then you basically just discounted everything that built up the trilogy for Neo. Basically, if anybody can be Spider-Man and Superman, then why are we idolizing Superman and Spider-Man? If anybody can be them. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, Neo's not special. When you built him up as the hero icon in the first three movies in the actual trilogy, and now it's like, oh, well, he wasn't really the one. He was just the one that manifested. But anybody can be the one, including the random girl that fell in love with him that now has his powers. What? What? I am so confused. I am so confused. The ending felt like a fever dream, like somebody watched The Matrix and they read some fan fiction and they took a huge swig of vodka and then went to sleep while also having concussed their head an hour earlier, and that's what their dream was about. I cannot believe that this was The Matrix that I was waiting so much for. They had so much potential, and I don't know what happened. Like, there was some serious potential there, especially in the trailer. And I try not to expect anything, because all these people are theorizing, this is going to happen, and And I'm like, I'm just gonna enjoy it when it comes out, because watching the three movies, I know like the kind of franchise it is. And now it just feels like some ABC CW type thing at the end of the movie. I was very disappointed. I'm not gonna mince words and try to sit here and pussyfoot around it and be like, oh, it was great. Oh my god, well, it was okay. No, it was sucky. It was sucky.
Oh, it's very sucky.
The first half, or at least first quarter of the movie, they had something there. And then they just threw their arms up in the air like, you know what, shit, everybody just start dropping ideas while we're smoking weed here, and whatever drops on this paper is what we're gonna put out. I was very disappointed, and I didn't even have high expectations. While I was excited to see it, I didn't have expectations because of that reason. God damn, like, I'm pretty sure I'll remember some more stuff that pisses me off as time goes by after I put up this video, but Jesus Christ, they should have gone back to the drawing board. They had something there. As a matter of fact, this one movie could have been 3 different movies. The whole thing with the machines becoming their friends, the whole thing with Neo going crazy, and then with saving Trinity, and then if you want to expound on other people being the one, that's another trilogy right there. But instead, you took every draft and just muddled it up into this movie like it's some kind of reel for future franchises. It was very, very, very badly done, in my opinion. If you liked it, I'm glad that you did. I do not have a problem with anybody else who enjoyed it. It was just very cheap. And then my partner tried to explain it away. I'm like, how is it that he can use his powers, but he can't fly? But then Trinity can fly. Oh, there's added security, but Trinity can fly. If there's added security that, okay, now conveniently, Neo can't fly anymore, but Trinity can? Come on, bro. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, I just wanted to come. I freshly just watched it from HBO Max, and sorry the video's not edited. You know, it's just one of those videos that doesn't have a lot on it, but I don't even know what to say. And I like the machines, though. That story angle was amazing. Story angle with Neo going nuts and wondering if it's actually real was amazing. Then it just descended into total madness. Why? Why is Bugs now with Trinity and Jackson at the same time as Trinity so they can fight as one person because they have the same kind of brain thing, or they're similar enough so they can save Trinity? Why was it harder to save Trinity and eject her out of the pod than it was Neo? God damn it, man. It just makes me mad. The more I sit here and think about it, is the madder I get. And I know I shouldn't be that mad, but I am. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.